Hello, welcome to my presentation on the Organization Cybersecurity Policy and Executive Summary for JAM Inc. There are various different types of standards. However, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, and the International Organization for Standardization are the premier frameworks for standards in the cybersecurity community. NIST focuses on 5 main stages, which are to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. These are the 5 stages that should be followed to maintain a proper security posture and best protect all organizations. ISO was primarily developed to help an organization systematize cybersecurity controls that they may have developed to cover particular situations or compliance needs into full-fledged information security management systems. The NIST cybersecurity framework is essential to ensure the best security posture in cybersecurity infrastructure. The framework has 5 core functions, as previously mentioned, which are to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. The cybersecurity lifecycle also aligns with the NIST framework to establish the most secure program that supports JAM Inc.'s strategic objectives. JAM Inc. will align with the NIST standards by implementing security and monitoring with SolarWinds. SolarWinds helps determine if devices are online, if IIS services are functioning properly, if websites are accessible, and much more. Additionally, monthly Nmap scanning will be performed to ensure that all devices on the network are verified and supposed to be on the internal network. JAM Inc. will also deploy antivirus, strict firewall rules, and deploy intrusion prevention systems. These devices will help protect and detect any activity and changes on the network to alert administrators to any deltas or potential issues. The organization will also quickly isolate targeted devices and accounts so attackers are not able to laterally move through the network. Employees will be trained and tested frequently to ensure appropriate response activity and response time. Once all threats are remediated and documented for lessons learned, the organization will quickly recover to pre-attack status. JAM Inc. strives to ensure there is integrity, trust, confidentiality, and availability of information and resources throughout the organization. Through the security policy, the organization is committed to following laws and regulations and prohibit any illegal activity, knowingly or unknowingly. The effective security team is a team effort involving the participation and support of every JAM Inc. employee and affiliate who deals with information and/or information systems. It is the responsibility of every computer user to know these guidelines and to conduct their activities accordingly. This policy follows the guidance provided by the SANS Institute and common industry-specific security standards, such as an acceptable use policy, security awareness training, remote access policy, and password creation and management. The acceptable use policy provides standards for what is acceptable within the organization while using corporate systems, while security and training provides guidance on secure steps to protect devices and the internal network. Remote access is limited to mobile devices issued by the organization, and users are expected to create and protect secure passwords. This overview of the network diagram provides the highest level of security that will be enforced. However, variations in work environments will also be considered and adapted to modern working conditions. All remote and additional locations will require some sort of virtual private network or VPN connection into the corporate network that will verify authentication and authorization. If the connection is dropped for any reason or the user becomes invalid, they will lose access to the internal network. Initial connections from external sources or to external sources will have to traverse through the demilitarized zone or DMZ, which hosts critical servers and communications that have to be redundant and more secure since they are external facing. When traversing into the DMZ, there's an external facing firewall, and there's an additional firewall and intrusion prevention system, or IPS, when exiting the DMZ and entering the internal corporate network. This ensures that any harmful traffic is properly analyzed and blocked. while verified users are able to conduct business as needed. All internal servers and systems will be housed in the internal data center, so there is local area connectivity or LAN connectivity, and external capabilities do not affect internal business operations. Additionally, all connections between the corporate location and subsequent divisions are encrypted and secured. They are all in specialized virtual local area networks or VLANs that segregate each of the divisions for security purposes. This is also critical if an intruder breaks into the network, so the defense in depth features will help prevent the attack from rapidly growing. In order to know the risk the organization faces, leadership should coordinate monthly risk assessments to understand the current risks and understand the baseline. At JAM Inc., the monthly risk assessment is performed by running Nexus scans on the systems to scan for vulnerabilities with network devices, servers, applications, plugins, and software. Risk assessments are important because they help the organization to protect against breaches, give data to prioritize improvements to security, and help the security investments. When conducting risk assessments, the scope, threat catalog, and threat vectors should all be very clear. The scope should define the boundaries of which the organization is choosing to assess and associate with a risk management plan. It should clearly identify why the assessment is taking place and which assets are being analyzed. The threat catalog is going to be a list of generic threats that are often found in other risk assessments, which include events, actions, inactions, and more that could indicate assets are at risk with specific vulnerabilities. Threat vectors can also be considered with various routes that bad actors or attacks may take to threaten your business security. When it comes to the BIA, or Business Impact Analysis, the risk assessment will predict the consequences of JAM Inc. business functions and process disruption and gather information needed to develop recovery strategies. The highest threats to JAM Inc. are cyber attacks, so understanding how to secure devices and train employees is essential. Business continuity can also be very difficult because some controls cannot be implemented during a disaster, as they would inhibit business function or harm human lives. It will take time to develop lifecycle equipment to remediate the vulnerability, and the organization may not have the appropriate staffing to be able to cover the additional work required. Also, in the event of a natural disaster, relocating to an alternate site may not be feasible and will actually put employee lives at risk so that the alternate site may not be available. However, herein lies the importance of choosing alternate sites carefully to prevent this from happening often. JAM Inc. will best prepare and practice for the BCP, or Business Continuity Plan, by conducting semi-annual training exercises and evaluating any deltas. There are so many standards that must be followed in order to remain compliant and abide by the laws. Some of the top standards are regulatory compliance, security controls, and laws. In any industry, regulatory compliance is extremely important for the success and validation of their overall operations. Regulatory compliance is applied to all organizations, such as the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, to ensure a safe work environment for employees, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, to ensure discrimination-free hiring practices. In cybersecurity, organizations will have to focus more definitively on the security controls they're implementing, such as technical controls regarding access cards, passwords, and authentication. When an organization fails to comply with regulatory compliance, it can result in worker injuries and deaths, property damages, loss, production, and jail time. While these negative results can be seen when noncompliance occurs, there are larger organizational risks that should coincide, such as penalties and fines, reputational damage, access to market and product delays, and regulated out of business. Significant fines are the obvious disadvantage of noncompliance, but the other major factors of reputational damage, market delays, or possibly being put out of business can actually be more costly than the fines alone. Every organization is at risk for cybersecurity attacks, so it is imperative that proper training and incident handling is in place to best prevent and respond to such attacks. JAM Inc. is dedicated to implementing the best incident handling and response tactics to better defend against cyber attacks, especially having been the target of such attacks a couple times before. During incident response and handling, it's important to follow the basic steps of procedures when communicating with authorities and different expectations for subcontractors versus customers. The standard procedures to follow are observe, orient, decide, and act. Employees should be able to analyze the entire network and all activity, as well as be familiar with the devices on the network. When an incident occurs, employees should be able to utilize available tools to act quickly and remediate as necessary. When communicating with authorities during an incident, the incident response team lead should always be informed and act as a liaison. Operational leads will also be in the know and help make different calls based on local, state, or federal incidents. Understanding the various expectation differences for subcontractors and customers is also important. Subcontractors should first consult with their immediate supervisor and program manager and follow additional guidelines set in place with the service level agreements set forth between JAM Inc. and the subcontracting company. Subcontractors may have conflicting health and safety policies than those of JAM Inc. and therefore need to consult their managers and policy paperwork before conducting any extraneous tasks or response handling. Customers should only be involved in how the products they use are impacted and what they need to report to JAM Inc. Otherwise, customers should not be involved in the actual response process and only be an informational vessel for reporting affected handling issues. At the helm of incident response is the IRT leader, who is responsible for managing the call tree of all subsequent teams and coordinating with all authorities and entities. The leader will have a deputy, and then there will also be subsequent operations, technical, health, and communications teams. Each team will have their own internal leader and subject matter expert, or SME, from various backgrounds to provide a healthy variety of expertise and knowledge. Communication should flow between supervisors and leaders as best as possible. While this is not always possible, leaders should always be included in correspondence and be able to respond in the event a staff member can no longer convey communications. The incident response team should provide efficient and effective communication and coordination that is handled with expertise and well-equipped training. IRT members have gone through thorough vetting and training to be able to handle fast-paced incidents and information gathering and response while maintaining productive attitudes and effective communication. This team is presumed to frequently respond to threats and issues and be prepared to act upon such incidents in a moment's notice while remaining professional and polite. The IRT undergoes significant training and staffing expectations. Training includes monthly tabletop exercises across scenarios, including but not limited to cyber attacks, natural disasters, insider threats, nation-state attacks, hackers, and other unforeseen circumstances relevant to cybersecurity incidents and current activities. Each exercise evaluates responsiveness and responsibility, as well as how each individual contributed and areas for improvement. Here you can see the cybersecurity infographic. In order to create a secure environment, it's important to provide useful visuals that explain helpful information that is easy to understand. IoT, or Information of Things devices, have many security vulnerabilities, such as the lack of physical hardening, lack of visibility in device management, and weak passcodes. Protecting intellectual property is critical for securing proprietary and sensitive company information. And internet use provides an open door for access to the corporate network from anywhere in the world. If traffic is unencrypted, it's sent in plain text and highly insecure. JAM Inc. will always strive to maintain strong DevSecOps by following the Open Web Application Security Project, or OWASP, guidelines, which was developed by developers to secure coding practices and best protect against known attacks, which include injection attacks, broken authentication, security misconfiguration, and cross-site scripting. JAM Inc. has made excellent strides over the past few years to increase the cybersecurity posture. We are committed to regulatory compliance, proper security implementation and adoption, and abiding by the NIST cybersecurity framework. Through an abundance of information, resources, and training, the organization is well equipped to handle standard vulnerabilities and bad day scenarios, such as a cyber attack. Maintaining awareness is key, as well as providing easy to understand information, which is something JAM Inc. has focused heavily. Thank you so much.